You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Wednesday the 30th of October 2013. Schools must produce young people who are fully capable. Black players demoralised in England, says FIFA Vice President. UK Muslim taxi driver refuses to take disabled woman and her dog, but he doesn't get fired. European Central Bank headquarters skyrocketing costs for skyscraper project. Anti-racist activist raped after attending anti-racism festival in Italy. Experts, cell phone users are guinea pigs in worldwide tests. Pakistan gang on stabbing rampage attacks 30 women for shopping after sunset. Syrian president declares general amnesty. Thought for the day, diversity, pandemics and traditions. And finally, a politically correct storm warning, US style. Before I start the news today, I would like to comment on the link Adrian sent through to the World at 8 site on the Rogues Gallery 666. Having viewed this terrible list of murdering bastards, I think that all nationalists in the UK can thank our successive governments, the Commonwealth Office, the EU human rights laws, Marxist liberals, globalisation, a weak monarchy and an even weaker establishment for those pictures and the awful stories behind them. A thank you which should consist of a wall, a gun and unmarked graves. UK news. Schools must produce young people who are fully capable. Eastern European immigrants should not be blamed for seeking jobs in UK factories when not enough young people of Britain are fully capable of doing the same jobs, David Cameron has said. The Prime Minister said half the workforce in some factories came from Poland, Lithuania or Latvia, as people from those countries wanted to work and were well qualified. During a trip to a mini plant in Oxford on Monday, he said Britain's response should be to improve the education system, so we are producing young people out of our schools and colleges who are fully capable of doing these jobs. You can go to factories in our country where half the people come from Poland, Lithuania or Latvia, Cameron said. You can't blame them, they want to work, they see the jobs, they come over and they do them. But as a country we ought to be saying, no, let us get our education system right, so we are producing young people out of our schools and colleges who are fully capable of doing those jobs. World at 8 states, then why the flipping hell has every major politician done their best to destroy our youth and the education system of this country, if not to pave the way for foreign workers? Black players demoralised in England, says FIFA Vice President. The head of FIFA's anti-racism task force says he was left disheartened after meeting demoralised black and ethnic minority players in England. Geoffrey Webb said many non-white players felt they didn't get chances to move into coaching or management. World at 8. As usual, if you're not good enough to win the job, then play the race card. Besides, Seb Blatt or whoever heads FIFA must be the richest man in that organisation now that the World Cup will be in Dubai in midsummer. That should be okay for our team. The Heat, I mean. UK Muslim taxi driver refuses to take disabled woman and her dog, but he doesn't get fired. As everyone knows, Muslims hate dogs and see them as filth. Recently, a Muslim taxi driver refused to give a lift to a disabled woman and her service dog because he thought it broke the rules of Ramadan. But the law states no taxi driver can refuse to carry a disabled passenger or assistance animal unless they are medically exempt. The driver, who we can only identify from the name used in council papers as K, was so confused by the incident he contacted his imam to ask for advice on what he should have done. He was later issued with 12 penalty points following the incident, which happened in August 2013, and Wealdon District Council in East Sussex has allowed him to keep his licence because he contacted his imam after he refused service. World at 8. Of course it is disgusting and he should be fined and deported. Why give these Muslims duties that they are not obliged or expected to give? Had she been young and fit, even with a dog, he would have given her more than a lift probably, and even more likely got away with that. He should be blacklisted, no pun intended. European news. European Central Bank headquarters skyrocketing costs for skyscraper project. Estimated costs for the European Central Bank's new headquarters in Frankfurt have more than doubled. As has been happening with so many major projects in Germany, its construction has been plagued by poor planning, oversight and execution, and endless delays. 3.5 years later, in the fall of 2013, there is a different reality in Frankfurt's Ostend district. Instead of the original estimated cost of €500 million, that's equivalent to $690 million, the entire project will now cost at least €1.15 billion and could even eventually climb to €1.3 billion. The ECB has also had to postpone its move. Originally scheduled for completion in 2011, the building is now not expected to be ready for occupancy until at least the end of 2014. Anti-racist activist raped after attending anti-racism festival in Italy. An Italian social worker and anti-racist activist became the victim of a hate crime after attending an anti-racism event called the Festival Multiniso in Reggio Emilia, Italy. The rape victim and her fiancé befriended illegal aliens during the festival and accepted an invitation to stay with them. The fiancé was held captive at knife point while the female victim was raped. The attack took place last June. However, the police have only now just arrested a suspect who is named as Boujima Ez Assahali, a 32-year-old illegal alien from Morocco. World at 8. That'll teach 'em, won't it? I thought that was the whole point of diversity, to embrace the difference between all races and cultures. World news. Experts. Cell phone users are guinea pigs in worldwide tests. The average phone per person ratio inside of the United States is around 1.57, meaning that there are more cell phones in the nation than there are people, and the numbers are climbing. In the past, we've seen a number of alarming studies regarding the effects of cell phone radiation after it has permeated the human skull for hours on end. One study even found around 290% increase in brain tumour risk through the use of a cell phone on the side in which it was used. In rebuttal, telecom industries helped to prop up the opposition, stating that there was no increase in brain tumours after cell phone use. Just look at the Apple warning for the iPhone, which clearly states to never ever use your phone near your head or even carry it in your pocket. World at 8. Yet another way of killing us off and making money at the same time. Brilliant. Text only and carry it in a bag. Pakistan gang on stabbing rampage attack 30 women for shopping after sunset. Women in Pakistani's Samhein I district are afraid to leave home as a result of the stabbing rampage, Reuters. Police in Pakistan have launched a manhunt after 30 women have been stabbed in the last month for leaving home after sunset. It is unclear whether the attacks are being carried out by a lone assailant or a gang, but police have offered 200,000 rupees, which is equivalent to £2,000 reward for any information that will lead them to the perpetrator. World at 8. There is no doubt about it. These people are raving mad, and over here as well. Syrian President declares general amnesty. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad declared a general amnesty for his citizens on Tuesday in an effort to help end the country's ongoing civil war, the state-owned Sana news agency reported. Under the presidential decree, anyone who had committed a crime before Tuesday will be eligible, including military deserters. Assad signed a similar decree in April to help quell violence in the Middle Eastern country. According to UN statistics, more than 100,000 people have died in the 2.5-year-old civil war. The number of refugees caused by the conflict hit 2 million in September, the UN said. Thought for the day. Diversity, pandemics and traditions. It's well known that I am against any future immigration and in fact don't have much truck with the old immigration laws either. We Brits are supposed to take in our stride the virtually daily changing of our cities, towns and villages, as if we had all been warned this would happen, and of course we, as usual for a democratic country, had no say in the end game of this particular evil. So much has been said against immigration that I thought I would try to look on the bright side of our present situation. encompassing immigration, and thinking there has to be a brighter side to it, and have decided to try and overcome my racist, bigoted old thoughts, and like Tommy Robinson am looking on the reverse side of the coin and thinking along the lines of peace and love for my fellow man. Don't worry, it won't last very long. You have to admit that going shopping in any large shopping area now is an adventure. No, it is, isn't it? By the time you've fought your way through the entire population of the third world to the one shop you wanted, you will probably find it's gone in the last month since you were there and an Asian emporium or Chinese takeaway has replaced it. If not, good luck. Because unless you're in the upper end of Regent Street, London, it's odds on that the assistants will be non-English speaking, very helpful and smiling and chatting amongst themselves, like service with a smile just went out of fashion. Don't head towards the nearest white face. She will be Russian or worse and will have no English unless you have a man with you, and then she will be fairly fluent. Head towards the coffee-coloured lot. They can usually speak at English much better than our European cousins. Beware the obligatory coffee after this harrowing and pricey experience as well. The mere act of walking in and ordering and waiting for it at the other end of the counter is an experience not to be missed. You will be the only white face in the place, or should I say wholly white, and if over a certain age you will feel like a spare part. Now follow my advice and take out your mobile phone and text someone, anyone, and be very, very busy. But not busy enough not to hold on to your bag with its contents. I find my bag firmly gripped between my lower thighs is adequate. You find a thief of any ethnic mix who wants to tamper with my thighs in lockdown mode and they will be very, very sorry. Now look around and breathe in the air that has been breathed in and out by thousands of strangers full of thousands of bugs or worse, and think hate not hope, think UAF, think amnesty, think the UN. Think how lucky you are to sample the delights of seeing foreigners multiply even before your eyes and the wonders that diversity brings to your local or near local watering hole. Yup, that's it, think and weep. Oh no, mustn't be depressing or racist, must we? Try to remain in a calm and open-minded frame of mind if you can. It is only the last few years that you can see the national dress of everyone in the world walking around with you in your own little space in the country you were born in, and isn't it grand? Something to tell your grandbabies about when they attend the local madrasa in the future. By the way, the national dress being tatty jeans, jerkins, headscarves, tight tights usually worn by preggy girls, burqas, turbans, dhotis, swathes of cloth and niqabs, and all this can be worn by either sex. You might on your way home pop into a shop that sells everything, from Debs to Wilkie's, and you will find Halloween has reared its normally very ugly head this year, and all the aisles you wanted to visit have been taken over by the sight of terrible and ghastly masks of witches, warlocks and demons. And no, in this instant I do not mean the shop assistants. Every space on every shelf is crammed, literally crammed with crap made in China. Another favourite of mine, of course, imported and expensive crap. I really love it. Please take note, Searchlight. Feel the love. Even I, in my now liberal and open-minded mindset, cannot understand the fascination that the Brits have with All Hallows Eve or Samhain to the uninitiated. In my days, just after the wheel was invented, we never celebrated this particular bit of idiocy, never even knew the date. Our shops then were not filled a month before the end of October with imported and dangerous stuff which most mothers could not afford anyway, and of course, just out of rationing, sweets were a treat, not a bribe for going out and frightening 7 streets of shit out of the elderly house owner next door. Whilst having yet another cuppa, bag firmly gripped, my mind wanders to the huge amount of this real rubbish that comes into our country and Europe day after day. First we have the Chinese selling us Easter bunnies and crap, then Mother's Day imported flowers and crap, then Father's Day awful mugs and crap, then Valentine's Day flowers and mugs and crap, then Halloween mugs, masks and total crap, not necessarily in the right order of course, and then the joys of Crimbo I shall call it, because it bears no resemblance to our Lord's birthday at all. In fact, just try to find a manger on a card, let alone the baby Jesus, and you will be very, very lucky, or in the wrong country. However, you will find entire floors of shops and even garden centres crowded with Crimbo crap, from artificial thingies made to look like trees which you can expand and collapse, every manner of baubles, bangles and beads, reindeers by the herd, several variations on Father Christmas, gnomes, cherubs who look anything but cherubic, in fact they look like they want to piss all over you, and everything but everything covered in gold or silver spray paint, including little baby live fir trees. And as for those sodding plastic poinsettias, I think you can guess what I would like to do with them, but I must remain open-minded and happy. In these days of recession, and make no mistake, we are not out of recession, be that global, European or just us. How are people finding the money to buy all this detritus? Because if we weren't buying it, how come all the small to large shops are bringing it in and stocking this stuff in ever increasing bulk? Surely it can't be all illegal Chinese people in those shipping containers in our docks, can it? My bonhomie has done its job. I have survived a shopping trip without foaming at the mouth, but I'm still a nationalist, still full of love not hate, still racist or tribalist, and still enjoying every minute of being so. But a thought still lingers with me. If you look carefully at the now ever-present crimbo crap, you will see a new form of secret weapon with which to kill off most of the Western world. Bugs, spores, chemical weapons, etc. Now I'm getting depressed again. I'm reminded of the blankets and the smallpox that we Brits gave to the American Indians to kill them off. What is to stop this form of pandemic being brought in on goods for sale to the general public at so-called times of celebration in Europe? Why have our governments been so thoughtless in encouraging this sort of business with China? No one can say anything made in China is going to be useful or last well or even pretty. Apart from the financial aspects, there is a thought that if one day there is a pandemic originating in the Far East, will our government have the guts to stop imports from this part of the world immediately? Will the containers remain unopened on the docks until we know there is no contamination from within? Will they shut off any aircraft travel from China immediately to prevent spreading more disease? What actual deterrents are in place regarding this main importer to our island? Will we dare to quarantine our Chinese illegals to save our own people from death if push comes to shove? To add to this, all this celebrationary muck does not foster our own Christian celebrations. In fact, it encourages the greedy and ignorant, doesn't it? Making sure future generations are propagandised into celebrating Halloween, Eid, the Hindu festival of Diwali and more, instead of the true nature of Christmas, is yet another Marxist ploy to take away what traditions we do have left and replace them with literally crap. In short, happy and ignorant though I am now, with the help of many coffees and caffeine, I really don't like the way the country has gone. It isn't progress, it's going backwards in fact. We're getting poorer and yet spending more money on things our grandparents wouldn't have given house room to. And most, if not all these things are foreign made and imported to order by greedy wholesalers and retailers, and all are against our traditional holidays. I have bought a bucket of sweets for Halloween, not for that event but for the mums who've made the costumes and will bring out their little ones to frighten me. I'm doing it for them. If I wanted to celebrate Samhein, I would cover myself in woad, sacrifice a person or two and have an orgy round a fire and get extremely drunk. As it is, all my money for getting drunk has gone on the sodding sweets, so there. Happy bloody Halloween for tomorrow. And finally, a PC storm warning, US style. Well, in case you think our weather warnings are too British, we can always take a leaf out of the latest gem from our cousins over the pond. Just when you think you've heard all of the stupid things that are going on in the US, this comes along. Black hurricanes. Well, it appears our African American friends have found yet something else to be pissed off about. A black congresswoman, this would be Sheila Jackson Lee of Houston, reportedly complained that the names of hurricanes are all Caucasian sounding names. She would prefer some names that reflect African American culture, such as Shaniqua, Tanisha, Woisha, Shakil and Jamal. I am not making this up. She would also like the weather reports to be broadcast in language that street people can understand, because one of the problems that happened in New Orleans was that black people couldn't understand the seriousness of the situation due to the racially biased language of the weather report. I guess if the weather person says that the winds are going to blow at 140 miles per hour, that's just too hard to understand. I can hear it now. A weatherman in New Orleans says, "What's up, motherfuckers? Hurricane Shamiqua be heading for your ass like Leroy on a rocket. Bitch be a category 4. So turn off them chitlings, grab your children, leave your crib and head for the nearest FEMA office for your free shit." And do you really think I am racially biased? You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart and I wish you all a very good night.